It all begins with an attempt to abduct the mayor by the Intergang, who are armed with apocalypse technology. They're confronted by the Metropolis Police Department. Unfortunately, the police officers, with their regular weapons, are no match for the Intergang with all their apocalyptian technology. The Intergang members toy with the officers in their cars for fun. The chief of police arrives with his second-in-command. The thugs just flip their car over and laugh at them. When the police chief shoots again at them, the Intergang leader, Mannheim, orders his associate to kill the chief and his assistant. Just then, the Man of Steel, Superman, arrives at the ongoing crime scene. All the plans made by the Intergang are foiled by Superman. He just takes them down one by one, as if they are toys made for a toddler. He gets hold of Mannheim at last and throws him onto a building. Superman rips his suit apart and scares the living daylight out of him. The mayor is grateful toward Superman, and so he should be. Superman's great fan Bibbo Bibowski greets him and takes a picture for his new barbecue joint. Afterwards, Superman calls in Flash to help with the cleanup, much to the dismay of Flash. Later, Cyborg arrives as well. He inspects the motherboard and other tech used by Intergang and decides to dive deep into it. Superman and the Justice League send the recovered devices from the crime scene to STR Labs for analysis. Meanwhile, wherever the Man of Steel goes, he receives huge appreciation and cheers from the crowd. Superman is adored like a hero, much more than your ordinary celebrity. Soon after, in an interview with the Daily Planet's #1 reporter, Lois Lane, Superman presents the rocket that brought him to Earth from Krypton and its birthing matrix containing Kryptonian DNA technology to the world. Superman shows the Kryptonian generations and even his parents through a hologram message. He then takes Lois Lane to her office at the Daily Planet in his arms by flying over Metropolis, much to the delight of Miss Lane. Lois is in a relationship with fellow reporter Clark Kent, who, unknowingly to her, is Superman's alter ego. Although she denies any involvement with Clark to her friends, his reluctance to reveal his past makes Lois reconsider their relationship. Silas Stone and Dr. John Henry Irons, father of Cyborg, determine Intergang's devices contain both apocalyptian and Earth elements, leaving only one suspect with the means to synthesize these technologies: Lex Luthor. Silas Stone is overjoyed to meet his hero, Superman, personally at the lab. An enraged Superman confronts Lex Luthor, who is confined to house arrest, and Luthor thoroughly denies any involvement. Superman leaves after issuing a strong warning to Luthor. Lois Lane is chatting with her coworker and news anchor, and she brings up Clark Kent, the tall, shy, handsome young man. She warns about Clark's defensive attitude, and Lois is concerned. Meanwhile, Superman admirer Captain Hank Henshaw leads a team of astronauts aboard the space shuttle Excalibur. The captain is partnered by his beloved wife and an experienced crew. When a boom tube sends a meteorite hurtling toward the shuttle, they hurry back into the shuttle and try to boost away for safety. At the same time, Lex Luthor returns to LexCorp from a secret night out and reaches his research lab to observe the commotion at the space shuttle. Unfortunately, the shuttle is hit by debris and the asteroid, and as Henshaw waits for Superman's rescue, the shuttle is destroyed, leaving Henshaw's body unaccounted for and killing his fellow astronauts. The meteorite crashes to the Atlantic Ocean floor, monitored by Luthor's underground research facility. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman is battling several villains, including the Cheetah, and Superman shows up to help her. Much to his annoyance, Wonder Woman calls him Clark as he calls her Diana. They defeat the enemies, as it is revealed to be their training center. She reminds him that hiding his true self from Lois Lane will not do any good to their relationship. Just like their relationship once was. Lex Luthor sends a deep-sea exploration team to the crash site. Soon they encounter the Atlanteans, and both groups are disturbed when they hear a thundering noise coming from deep within the seabed. The Atlanteans inspect it first, and all of them are devoured in a bloody massacre. Soon after, the LexCorp submarine and all of its technicians are destroyed by a monstrous humanoid that emerges from the wreckage. Although the monster destroys his submarine, Luthor is amused at the thought of destroying Superman once and for all with the use of this new alien creature. The Justice League is discussing their annual budget and funds, with Batman stepping up to cover the budget arrogantly with the Wayne Foundation, as always. Flash makes a joke at Batman going to a PTA meeting and later regrets it. Flash then announces that he is getting married, and somehow this strikes Superman a massive blow. Everyone gathers around Flash to discuss the celebrations, while Superman sits alone thinking long and hard about Lois Lane, his true love. Lois Lane meets with Clark's parents for the first time, and they tell her a number of stories from his past. This makes Clark really uncomfortable, and Lois enjoys the moment thoroughly. Soon she decides to take a walk to her place, since she is feeling distant from Clark with all his mysteriousness. Aquaman and his guards discover the bodies of their fallen friends. Aquaman follows the trail of the monster and reaches the coastline. He informs Cyborg about the new information as well. Out in the wilderness, a grizzly bear is devouring a campsite. A boy is hiding behind a tree with a knife and the girl is hiding in the tent. Just when the bear tries getting inside the tent, it is pulled away and torn to pieces by the monster, who then kills the girl as well. Lois Lane runs into a nervous Clark Kent, who invites her for lunch. Much to her surprise, he is contacted by Diana, who informs him about the chaos at the coastline, and he suggests calling him only if the League really needs him. Seems like a big lunch for Superman guy. The monster has arrived at the nearby coastal town and is running a rampage, killing police officers and civilians. Fortunately, the Justice League arrives at the scene, with Hawkman attacking the monster and sending it hurling down. The monster stands back and knocks Hawkman out, only to be saved by the Lantern. Green Lantern is pissed and attacks the monster with his power ring, with success at first, but is taken down quickly and saved by Flash seconds before being crushed by the monster. Flash is brutally injured, and then comes Batman's turn. The Dark Knight makes sure the monster is running around, chasing him at every corner and manages to break its armor. As the monster heads for Metropolis, Batman notes that their last hope is the Man of Steel. Meanwhile, Clark and Lois meet for lunch at a restaurant owned by Superman fan Bibbo Bobowski, where Clark finally reveals himself as Superman to a shocked Lois Lane. She laughs at Clark at first but soon comes to her senses and works everything out. The two resolve their differences and Clark receives the Justice League distress call. As Lois Lane runs out of the restaurant, she sees her boyfriend flying to save the people from a monster. Every girl's dream, right? Cyborg is ripped apart. Aquaman gets hurled away and somehow Martian Manhunter's telepathy reveals the creature to be a living weapon designed to annihilate entire civilizations. He gets thrown onto the petrol pumps and burned badly. Only Batman is standing still, but not for long it seems. Diana, the Wonder Woman, is ready once again to engage the monstrosity. She jumps onto its path and challenges the mindless creature, but even Hera, her sword, is not able to penetrate the creature and she is nearly killed. Superman arrives just in time to save Wonder Woman from the rampaging creature. Diana makes Superman promise her that he will end the monster once and for all. Go like the wind, Superman, go like 1,000 lightning bolts. Our hero, Lois Lane, reporting live by helicopter with her cameraman Jimmy Olsen, dubs the monster Doomsday. All over the country people are watching the live telecast and Superman's good friend Bibbo leads the cheers for him. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor is getting ready for something special on his own. The fight moves onto the bridge, among all the civilians. Superman tries his best to avert any more damage, but Doomsday is only about destruction. Superman binds the monster onto the iron poles of the bridge, but it breaks them away. As Superman shifts his focus to save a little boy from the collapsing bridge, Lois and Jimmy are worried and even Clark's parents cannot watch the fight anymore. Doomsday throws Superman onto the chopper, and it starts swirling out of control. Luckily, the Man of Steel once again comes to her rescue at the very last minute, and Lois is grateful for it. Doomsday is not done yet with Superman as it hunts him down once again. Superman kicks it into space and chases after it. Superman is unable to withstand the ferocious attack by the monster and is hit hard while plummeting to Earth. A battle-suit-clad Luthor joins the fight against Doomsday, aiming to become Metropolis's true savior, but he's incapacitated and saved by Superman in the end, much to his annoyance. Finally, the monster knocks out Superman with its bare hands. Realizing the toll the battle has taken on Superman, Lois attempts to sacrifice herself to Doomsday to force Clark into using lethal force. As the Beast prepares to kill Lois, Superman hurls himself at Doomsday. He breaks the villain's neck but is fatally stabbed at that moment and dies in Lois's arms, surrounded by his friends. Not like this, Superman, not like this. Jimmy broadcasts Superman's death across the globe as the world mourns. They hold a state funeral for the fallen Man of Steel. Green Lantern ignites the lamp and enlightens the golden statue of Superman. After everything, the Kents welcome Lois into their family with open arms and saddened hearts. Superman's dear friend Bibbo prays for his lost friend and cries alone at the harbor. Later on, Lois is consoled by her friend at the office. Out of the blue, Jimmy runs in with some unbelievable news. Jimmy brings Lois to Superman's mausoleum, where they find his coffin open and witness a figure resembling Superman staring at the golden statue and flying away. At Est Labs, an exonerated Luthor tries to gain custody of Doomsday's corpse for Project Cadmus, before Superman's rocket self-starts and flies off to their utter surprise. At the very end, after everything is at an end, we are given hope as numerous failed Superman clones are destroyed at Cadmus. The sole surviving prototype escapes. In his workshop, Dr. Iron forges Superman's symbol onto a suit of armor. A Superman-like figure watches as Superman's rocket buries itself under the North Pole and terraforms into the Fortress of Solitude. Lastly, high above the Earth, a cyborg resembling Superman arrives. So the real question is, did Superman really die? Let us see what really happened. 6 months following Superman's death, after defeating Doomsday and saving the Earth along with the members of the Justice League, 4 new versions of the hero appear: Superboy, Steel, the Eradicator and Cyborg Superman. Meanwhile, in a Daily Planet interview, Gordon Godfrey condemns the actions of the new Superman and calls for the citizens to stand up for themselves. Lois Lane, still reeling from Clark's death, breaks down seeing the pictures and the last note from him. Fortunately, Clark's parents visit to check on her. They share their loss with each other. Lois Lane decides to meet up with Diana to share her saddened thoughts. Lois and Diana become good friends, and they even share an ice cream and enjoy each other's company. Lex Luthor holds a press conference at LexCorp, introducing Superboy as the true Superman. Lois attends the conference along with Dr. Irons and sneaks inside one of the labs. Inside LexCorp, she flirts with the head scientist, Donovan, and learns that Superboy is a clone of Superman. Suddenly the conference is attacked by the Eradicator, who seeks to eradicate Luthor. Superboy fights with the Eradicator and tries to stop him. Still another Superman tries to stop him only to be defeated by the timely arrival of the cyborg Superman, who fights and drives away the Eradicator after a fierce battle. Many see the cyborg as the real Superman, which angers Lex Luthor. Meanwhile, at the North Pole in the Fortress of Solitude, the real Superman is being treated by aliens with ion radiation, while they observe everything happening around the world. Lois writes an exposé revealing Superboy to be a clone and asking if all of the Supermen are fake. This leads to a meeting between her and Cyborg Superman. She tells him she knows he isn't the Superman she knew and loved. Cyborg Superman gets honest with her and tells her about their plan to keep law and order throughout the world. Thereafter, the papers show the heroics by all the Supermen, apart from Superboy, who does only the show-off and no real work. Lex Luthor, now angry that Superboy wasn't declared the true Superman, forces Superboy to be the security detail for the President of the United States. Superboy soon butts heads with the Justice League to provide special security to the President as they arrive to launch the new Justice League Watchtower. All of a sudden, a boom tube opens in the sky and a number of parademons appear to terrorize the event. The Justice League goes to defend against the new enemy, while Superboy tries to fight the demons on his own. Superboy is defeated easily, but the League hold their own, while Cyborg Superman saves the President and the First Lady. The boom tube collapses and falls onto the Justice League, appearing to have killed all of them, much to the great dismay of the citizens. With Cyborg Superman declared the real Superman, Luthor angrily reveals Superboy to be a clone of both Superman and Luthor himself. On second thought, deciding against destroying the only viable Superman clone, Luthor instead unleashes the remaining failed clones to kill Donovan, his main scientist. While Cyborg Superman visits the grave of Terry Henshaw, he gets a sudden message from Darkseid to begin their plans. Lois Lane learns about the visit from the Gatekeeper. She then meets with Steel, aka Dr. Irons, who is surprised at first to know he has been discovered by Lois. Both of them come to the conclusion that it has to be Hank Henshaw, the missing astronaut from Excalibur, who is the Cyborg Superman. In his felicitation ceremony, Cyborg Superman announces to the world his plans for creating the Cyber Corps, composed of regular people that he grants superpowers. Volunteers come forth and soon experience new power like never before. Lois recognizes the technology as apocalyptic and suspects Luthor's involvement as he has stolen such tech before. Steel confronts Intergang, Luthor's buyers of the tech, only to discover that they have been attacked by the Eradicator. Steel follows the weapon signal to the Fortress of Solitude, while Lois breaks into Luthor's penthouse and meets Superboy, who reveals he knew Luthor had previously intended to kill him, which has shaken his allegiance to his so-called father. In the Fortress of Solitude, Steel and the Eradicator fight, while Lois and Superboy, and later Luthor, get a video call from the fight, accidentally dialed by Steel. Lois discovers the Eradicator is technology that protects Kryptonians and realizes that the real Superman is inside the fortress. Somehow the real Superman is revived and stops the fight. At the same time, Lois and Luthor see a broadcast from inside Cyborg Superman's mind, revealing Darkseid and his plans to invade, and that he orchestrated the deaths of both Superman and the Justice League in response to the failure of his previous attempt. Lois and Luthor form a plan just as Superman, Steel and Superboy head to Metropolis to save the city and its people. Cyborg Superman begins the invasion at the order of Darkseid, using the Cyber Core to open a giant boom tube over Metropolis. Lois Lane heads inside the Watchtower and reveals to Cyborg Superman that she knows who he really is. The Cyborg Superman, who is really the astronaut Hank Henshaw, threatens Lois Lane and proceeds to murder her for revenge. At that very moment, Watchtower sensors reveal the real Superman heading towards them. Enraged by his presence, Henshaw betrays Darkseid and closes the boom tube, stopping the invasion so he can personally kill Superman. He orders the drones to attack Metropolis just as Superman arrives in his spaceship, crushing the cyborg. Lois and Clark finally reunite and share an emotional moment. The cyborg Superman attacks Clark again and he locks up Lois in order to deal with her later. The battle is one-sided as Superman is not yet at full strength and cyborg Superman reveals he blames Superman for not being there to save him and his wife from the Excalibur shuttle disaster. Luthor uses the Mother Box to free the Justice League, who were actually imprisoned in another dimension, to help Steel and Superboy defeat the drones. Cyborg Superman launches the Watchtower into orbit to prevent the League from aiding Lois and Superman. With Superman nearly defeated, a bruised and battered Lois opens the Watchtower window shutters so the sun's yellow rays shine on Superman, bringing him back to full power. Superman defeats Henshaw with help from his wild card, the Eradicator, in the form of one of the Fortress's crystals, which injects the Eradicator program into Henshaw's brain and destroys him from within. With Cyborg Superman dead, the battle ends when the drones are deactivated, although all of the people who were turned into drones die in the process. The real Superman shares an emotional kiss with his lover, Lois Lane. Weeks later, Clark Kent is revealed to be alive, and the real Superman, donning a new suit, is welcomed back to the world with open arms. Clark and Lois go on their unfinished date, and have a moment for themselves when he is summoned to the Justice League, just like the last time. Finally, the League meet up at the Watchtower, and agree to end the war with Darkseid by going to Apokolips. Luthor enters the Watchtower, inviting himself to the fight. Thank you for watching, please like and subscribe if you made it this far. It really helps the channel.